Before we start today's episode, I'd like to pay tribute to an important figure from the British baseball community, as Tanya Cramen, who sadly passed away over the weekend. Tanya was an important figure in the youth setup at the London Mets, and she'll have impacted and touched so many lives over the years. Those who knew Tanya knew how amazing she was. You have to see the mentions pouring in on social medias from teams and players, and even those outside the baseball community, just to see how much that she actually meant to them. I never had the honour of meeting Tanya, but from talking on the show to Coach Cramen, when I had the chance to speak to him, it was clear just how much she meant to him. So my love and support goes to him, and this episode is dedicated to her. You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. Hello baseball fans, and welcome into another episode of the British Baseball Podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm joined this week by a special guest and a co-host, both of them Liverpool Trojans. The guest is a player whose career has spanned over 30 years. He started off playing at a tender age of 15 years old, and he's helped his club achieve 13 divisional titles in over 16 years, and those between the years of 2003 and 2018. He's also had a fair few national team appearances to boot as well. And although he hasn't officially retired, the man known as Goddy was inducted into the GB Hall of Fame in 2020. And along with my co-host Ian Blease, he's going to tell us more about his stunning career, falling in love with the game, how he developed a competitive mindset, training over in America, the impact that Norman Wells had on his career, charging him on national TV, how Italian women almost got him in trouble in the national team, and also eating grass the night before a game. A health note, now I'm not a doctor, but you're not a cow. Don't try doing that. I won't ruin the rest of you. Here to explain it all you have to do is sit back and listen, is my guest today, Martin Goddy Godsall. Enjoy.
Martin, Hall of Famer, Liverpool Trojan, welcome to the British Baseball Podcast. How are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come on. And as a little treat for you all, I've got with me a co-host for the evening, Liverpool Trojans' very own Ian Blease. Bleasey, how are we doing?
I'm good, thanks, Matt. Thanks for asking me to come on. Looking forward to this.
Good. This is your third appearance now on the show, so that's your hat trick. There is no ball to be given, just thank you very much. So, Martin, let's talk about your amazing career. You've recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame for Great British Baseball. What an achievement. How does that make you feel?
Oh, unbelievable, Matt. You know, I was made up, believe it really, but yeah, very proud, and made up with the people who put me forward for it as well. You know, got a lot of people to thank for it. But yeah, couldn't be prouder.
Excellent. I know we sort of like touched it, sort of a bit of a spoiler that you ended up in the Hall of Fame. But if we just do a quick rewind, you've been involved in the British game for, was it 30 odd years?
36.
36 years. And you started off as a teenager when you got introduced to it at school. Do you want to talk us through that story?
Yeah, well, it all started when I was playing cricket for the school, actually. Playing against a lot of other schools, and I ended up getting into the bowling side of things pretty from the word go, really. PE teacher Mal Hudson, who was actually a Liverpool Trojan himself, which I didn't know at the time. He got me into the cricket, and then it just went from there, really. But in the end, I started to get a bit bored with the cricket because I always needed to be on the go, either batting or bowling. Stood in the field really didn't do it for me. You know, it was a bit waiting for the ball to come to me. I needed to be on the go all the time. So I had a word with Mal Hudson and, you know, explained this to him that I was getting a bit bored of it. And he pointed me in the direction of baseball, saying he played for Liverpool Trojans. And, you know, I shouldn't do nothing because of the arm I had on me. He said he got a hell of a throw on me. So I started training with Mal Hudson in my dinner hour in school, just having a throw, doing a bit of pitching. He was going through the mechanics and just the basic stuff because he wasn't a pitcher himself, Mal. He was a shortstop. He was just teaching me the basics and mainly mechanics really on throwing. And then I took it from there. But I think I had that. I was always throwing anyway as a kid. I was always throwing apples and skimming stones, always throwing something, you know. So probably helped from my childhood when I was young. I was always throwing things. Yeah.
That's cool.
Breaks through windows and stuff.
Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, Goddy, if I can. Like, so obviously you've got this ability to throw. You know, you've been throwing since you were little. Your PE teacher spots it. You can see that you can throw. It's obviously quite a journey from someone who can throw a ball, throw things, to becoming a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Well, I went from when I left the cricket. I went to a team called the Innsbruck Freebirds, who were based just down the road from me, just down the road from Formby, and there was I think Norman. No, it wasn't Norman. It was a lad from school, Peter Swift. His dad was running the club, and we used to train at Hightown Cricket Club or Innsbruck Cricket Club. It was. Had a little clubhouse in the woods. But he wasn't really. His dad wasn't really from a baseball background, but he put me onto the likes of Stan Williams. It was Alan Williams, his dad, and all the Williams brothers played. And then it went from Stan onto Norman Wells Senior then, because they were running a team together in Litherland. So I went from them, playing for the Freebirds. I remember the first tournament we played in was in Litherland High. I think it was only about 15. First over a weekend it was. And I pitched 3 5-inning games over 2 days. And the only way I could stop my arm from aching, I had 4 pillows in my bed that night and my arm on the top of them. My mum kept coming in with another pillow. I was going, no, I need another one. But that experience, and we ended up winning it. You know, we got to the final and won it. But after that, I just fell in love with the game. Then I was just like, you know, the buzzer striking someone out and like being in control all the time of the game, and it was just great. Like, and that's where I got the bug from at first. That's where it all started. Yeah, but there was a lot of local teams then as well. There was a local junior league. There was about 3 teams in Skem. Yeah, they were always our main rivals. The Kelowna White Sox, they were always a good side. There was a couple of teams in Southport and a few others dotted about here and there. So it was a good, you know, it was a good league, which we're missing now. I think we're definitely missing now.
Was that in the early 90s, late 80s?
Yeah. I mean, we were playing as well. We were playing on a Sunday and a Wednesday evening, and every week. Even went into the seniors playing on the Sunday and the Wednesday. You know, but with the local leagues, you could do it, you see, because you didn't have all that travelling to do. So it was good. Yeah, very well set up. And then it sort of split there, you know, where you had to do you had to travel more to, you know, against good competition, because you always wanted to play against good competition. It's no good winning a ball game 20-0. You know, I always like the close games, you know, the battles where you have to battle and then you come out the end, you've won it. But you know, you've been in a ball game, you know. It was great. Great days.
Who were some of the toughest teams and toughest opponents you played then in those close games?
The senior league, probably the likes of, I always used to love playing Menwith Hill. That was always a battle. In the early days, Skemersdale Tigers, they had the likes of Jeb Bassey, Steve Smith. They were all GB lads as well. But there was always a kick-off as well, though. Whenever we played the Scam Tigers, there was always a fight. I don't know what it was. It was just a rivalry thing, But they were always good, hard-fought games.
I think going back to when I was playing for Preston, we used to quite enjoy playing the Trojans.
Yeah,
it would always get feisty. It would always get there would always be a bit of, I don't know, argy-bargy for want of a but they never got physical. It was always just words. But I used to think that I remember thinking when I came to join the club about I guess 6 years later. I remember thinking, oh well, will they actually welcome me? And obviously it's just that competitive spirit, isn't it? It's just that. I think at that point in time, that team hated the opponent every week. But then as soon as the game was over, let's go and get a pint.
Oh yeah. But at the start of the game, as soon as you cross that white line, that's it. It's game head on. It's like, and then as you say after the game, it's great in the clubhouse. It's all pally, and I'd tell the umpire how many strikes he'd missed, and
Can I just follow on to that then? You mentioned they're crossing the white line, because I think one of the things that has been said about you a lot is the competitive mindset that you had personally. I was just wondering if you've always been that way in everything that you've done, or if it's something that you had to learn to do in order to become a better pitcher.
You've got to get in that mindset to be a great pitcher. I think it's because a lot of it is in the head. It's mind games. It's you against the batter. It's just outwitting him, putting him off balance. If he knows what you're going to throw, 9 times out of 10 he's going to hit that ball. So he's just got to keep him off, but keep him thinking. Always get ahead in the count, so he's thinking more, put him under more pressure. So I always used to. Well, the best thing is it's about being efficient. It's about knowing your opposition, knowing the batters. What will he chase? What will he swing at? What won't he swing at? Type of thing. But it's a lot of it's mind games. It's the likes of Paul Mason. I'd go through the whole signal. He'd give me the sign. I'd shake him off every one, and then the batter would be thinking, how many pitches has he got here? So go around again. So that he's thinking. So you're ahead already. It's always get ahead. I'd say get ahead in the count, and then you can play around a bit then. But
for those people that don't know, I was going to say, for those people that don't know, Paul Mason is a catcher for the Trojans and has been for about 15, 20 years. A long-term battery mate of Martin's. In fact, over the years, I think one thing that has always been noticeable for someone who watched you pitch as often as I did is that you've always had a solid partner. Whether it was Alan Williams, he was with the club when I first.
Yeah, Chris G. Chris G was another great catcher.
Chris G, Rob Alger, and obviously the other one would be from recent time would be Dave Martin Byers as well.
Yeah, Dave's solid guy.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously for GB, you pitched to several great catchers, but there's another Hall of Famer in there in Josh Chatwind. I was just wondering how important that relationship is between the pitcher and the catcher, and how a catcher can really help push a pitcher to the next level.
Oh, it's very important. You've got to trust each other more than that. That's why I had a good thing with Paul Mason, because he was involved in so many games and so many big games as well. He wouldn't just put the glove in the same. He'd spot the glove, he'd put it in different places. It's no good just bending down, sticking the glove in the middle. It's another way of getting the batter thinking, shifting his feet, moving his glove over, inside, outside, high and low. But it's having that trust. I could throw anything. It's very rarely I threw anything in the dirt, but if it did, I just knew it wouldn't get past ball. He was that solid. He'd block anything. But very good catcher. The only thing that let Paul down was his throw to second. If it had that, he would have been mustard. Because I used to say to him, just let it go, just throw it. But he said, I just couldn't get it there. But,
he couldn't. He's still he's still. I mean, Paul's only maybe a year younger than me, so he's been in the game a long time. But he's never been able to shift that double pump. On that throw down to second. He's got a fantastic arm on him, but he's never been able to shift that double pump. Every so often he'll throw a runner out, but never got as many as he should do on the back, because you're quite quick to the plate and you've got a runner on first. It's a quick slide step. It's a short throw, and the ball's in the catcher's glove before, a lot quicker than most pitchers get it there. And over the years, probably should have had plenty more people caught stealing than we did.
Could I ask Martin as well? If say I was a young pitcher starting out, what was the best way, or how did you start forging these relationships with your catchers? Is it just a case of being good friends off the field, or do you spend a lot of time talking with each other through training? Can you talk us through those phases?
Yeah, no worries, Matt. It helps if you have that friendship. Yeah, you've got to have a good battery, and it's up to you and the catcher to know the batters, really, before the game. Do a scout report. I mean, when you're playing in the Euros and stuff, you don't have that beauty of knowing the batters. But when you're playing your local leagues, you know who the good sticks are. So, Paul said I like to Paul Mason, he'd know where to set the middle, because he knew what they'd chase. He knew whether they go high, low, inside, outside, what they'd chase, what would be a strikeout pitch for them. Whether I wanted to waste a pitch, because when I always used to get 2 strikes on a batter, I tend to throw high and fast. Really, you should just go straight after them, because they're going to be thinking, most batters will think he's going to waste a pitch now, rather just going after them. But if you're 2 strikes, you might as well get something out of the zone. Just don't put it straight in there. I like some good batters. Don't pitch to them, pitch around them. I was always taught to pitch around them. Don't give them anything to hit. The likes of Frank Parker, Ray Brownlee. There was a fella at Burton Wood called John Leith, one of the best batters ever. Superb. Hit a fastball. Every time you threw him a fastball, he'd cream it over the fence. You threw him anything off speed, strike him out every time. It was weird, but he had such a sweet swing. He was just unbelievable. But it's just you've got to be in the right mindset as well. You've got to concentrate so much when you're pitching, because you're controlling 90% of that game. You've got the ball in your hand 90% of the time. It's the likes of Men. There was another batter, Menwith. I didn't know him by name. We used to call him. What did you used to call him by? The Exterminator. And I remember it was the last inning, and they had a runner on second and third. We were 1 run up, and he got up to bat. And I don't know who the manager. He said, "Walk him." And I was thinking, no, he's human. I'm not walking him. I was just going to go after him. So I had the full count on him. Pitch down the middle, and he creamed it over the fence, and he won the ball. And he was laughing as he went around the bases. He was laughing, and I was just like, I should have listened to the manager, But it's one of them things. I just hated walking people. I just thought, I'm going to go after them. But it depends what type of game. If you're in a final, and there's players there for a reason, because they're at the top of the game and they're having a good year. So you've got to be a bit more careful. It does help sometimes to walk the batter.
Yeah.
You're only going to get to first base rather than getting, driving in a couple of runs. Just let them get on first base. I've learned that now, but it's, when it was too late.
Talking of successful spells, you've been involved in a lot of the Trojans Championship campaigns. Are any of those standout favourites for you? And if there are any, why so?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, Matt. The first win, 2011. we've been pipped at the post so many times in the final by, one error or one run, and in them games, one error will lose you the game. But every time we've been there 4 or 5 years on the bounce, and we got beaten the semi or the final, just by the slightest thing. But each time I think we lost, we kept the same players, kept the same club. Them players learned every time we lost, didn't you? So every year we went, we were more clued up, getting in the right mindset, preparation before the game, eating the right food, just getting your head down in the hotel, not going out on the ale like I probably did when I was younger. But it was just preparation. You have one shot only, and you've just got to be so on the ball. Like in the finals, the big game, and that was the national final. That was against Oxford Kings, and then the year after, 2012, we beat it was the Red Wings, Redbacks. Yeah. So, but that winning that first British champion was the big moment for me, because we've been so close so many years, and we had a party that night. Well, for a couple of days we were partying, probably the week. But it's great to win that.
Yeah, I share that as one of my favourite memories as well. But I'll tell you what, Mark, another favourite memory of mine about you was actually a game that you weren't playing in, and it was a game where we were 15 runs down coming into the bottom of the last inning against Hull Scorpions, and we were beaten. And I like to think of myself as someone who maintains a competitive mindset. But even in this moment, my head had gone. We started off the inning 2 runs down. The pitcher he was on walked about. I changed it to another pitcher, and it just went really wrong from there out for us, and we ended up 15 runs down. We eventually make the final out, and we're trudging off the field slow, not hustling off, not we've got one more chance, and Goddy just grabs everyone and he pulls them in, and he's like, right, we are not beaten yet. We're never beaten until that third out.
Last pitch.
And somehow, it started off 1 hit at a time. I think Paul Smith led off the inning.
Yeah, it was amazing day.
And 1 hit at a time, a few walks, a few errors, sure, but all the way through this, it started out just being Goddy. Goddy was really cheerleading, really shouting from the side, really lifting the team. And then as the inning progressed, more and more of us got on base and started to make the impossible seem like it might happen. The whole volume lifted it, but I don't think that would have happened without that rallying cry on the way off. And that's how someone can affect the game who's not even in it, just through their own mentality and positive thinking.
Yeah, and that's just to see how much depth you've got in the team and how much strength you've got in the team. And I just took that opportunity to say, let's see what we're made of. And then to win it in the end was just unbelievable. But as I say, it's not over till that last out. So you've got every chance of winning.
Yeah.
But it was a great day that when, I don't think there was much conversation on the minibus off Hull on the way home.
Have you ever received some really good advice along them lines? Or were you just a person that would dish it out?
Probably just dishing it out, Matt. Yeah. I mean, I've had loads of good advice. The likes of when, been to the States, to Cocoa Expo, with some of the coaches we had there were just out of this world. The likes of Kevin Russell and Ernie Russo, who run Brevard County and the university there. They were just amazing. Everything they said, you could tell, you only had to change slight little things about your game, but it made a hell of a difference. Where a lot of coaches look for the bigger thing, but it's little tiny things that can make a hell of a difference in baseball, in your game. How you hold the ball, how hard you're holding it, where you're holding it on the ball. where you're holding it on your fingers. And little tiny things make a hell of a difference, I think, in baseball, especially mechanics as well. A lot of mechanics involved with pitching and hitting as well. You know, it's yeah, we had some. It was great advice we got on Coco Expo. It was a great trip. 2 weeks there. I mean, after the first week, I never wanted to see another baseball for as long as I lived, because it was every day. It was like 100 degrees every day. And we're in the classroom, 7 o'clock in the morning, going through what we're going to be doing on the field. And I'll be on the field, like it's 100 degrees every day. And then come in for dinner, back out on the field. And then at night, we'd play a different college or university under the floodlights. Well, that was every day for 2 weeks. So after about a week, even if I looked at a baseball, my arm ached, because we were just throwing every day. But that's what it's about. If you want it that much, that's, these top coaches, they'll push you and push you and push you just to see how much you really want it, and you want to do it, and how much you love the game.
Did your gaming change that much after those 2 weeks? Did you come back and people visibly notice the difference, or is it a gradual thing?
Oh yeah, when the dust settles, when you get home and you've stopped taking, and then you put it all into practice then, and it's just the things you've learned. You can only really put them into practice when you're not sore, when you've been training for 2 weeks in the heat and everything, and you wanted to get away from it. You wanted a bit of a blow from the baseball. But after a week, I was just chomping at the bit then. I just wanted to get on the field and put everything into practice, what I'd learned there. And I learned so much there. It's great, tournaments for stamina and building players. I used to always love the All-Star tournaments, because most of the players, they're the best players in the country, what you could be playing in the GB side with. But to get them all together, play as a team, I've always said you can have the most expensive players from all around the world. If you don't gel as a team, you've got nothing. You haven't got anything. That gel just happens. No money can buy it. It just happened. And when it happens, it's amazing. It's just the best feeling. When everything clicks into place, all the players and having a great time, and you're winning ball games, and it's all good. It's great. Can't beat it.
But you mentioned the gel and and how important that is between a team. Obviously, the Trojans had a lot of success. In your last 16 years as a player, we won the Northern title 13 times. The core of that team stayed together for throughout that time. There were other very important players who came and gone, too many to name, but the core of that team stayed together. And I think that the relationship that we had with each other, the ability to know when to break the mood with a joke, or pick someone up when they're down, I think that was invaluable. And I think, with a few exceptions, I don't think we had a load of outstanding players, but I think together we formed an outstanding team, and that's why we were able to dominate definitely. The way that we did.
Yeah, and we stuck together. You see, we had the same players, didn't we, for years? Which is great. The likes of Harry Wren and the Smiths, Ian Smith, and they were all together, and then we'd played together for years, really. You had the likes of Rob Bondi, and then you had Ronald thrown in the final, one of the Venezuelan. But it was just when we won that first championship, there was just the team it just worked. Everything worked. And then even the year after, and then we lost a few players after that. And then they sort of lost their way a bit. And then it was just trying to get new players to fill them spots. But when we won the championship 2011, everyone knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, I thought. And what they're capable of. So you could put them in certain positions or certain scenarios, you'd come up with the goods. It wouldn't overwhelm them. You could always rely on them, type of thing, which was great.
I always remember the first championship. We had Luch playing right field and batting 9.
Yeah, Luch, another great player.
Chris Luciano, an American guy, played for us for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
While he was studying over here. And I remember thinking, wow, if he's our 9th best hitter, we're doing all right, you know. That side was great. And obviously, it was a few years in the making. One of my biggest regrets is the year before, because Goddy was quite modest before, but when the format was different in 2010, which is the year that we lost in the final to Oxford Kings. You had to win 2 games to get to the final, and we had ridden Goddy hard on the Saturday. Goddy had pitched 2 complete games for us, and we weren't staying on Sunday night, and we had dominated those first 2 games on the Saturday, and we weren't playing until 2 p.m. the next day on the Sunday. So we went out and we had a few beers. And then a few beers turned into a few more beers and a few shots. And eventually we staggered into the hotel at about 2 or 3 in the morning. And the next day at 2 p.m., we're all still hungover. And we lost. We didn't think we could lose. You know, we were overconfident. And that was the biggest learning experience of my career. And I felt, and I know several others on the team felt the same way, but I felt awful for you, Goddy, because of what you'd done on day one. And, you know, you couldn't have done any more for us. And we'd let you down by, I know you were with us, but we'd let you down by not taking it, by not taking the game with the seriousness. And Oxford deservedly did a number on us that year. And we had to wait 12 months to get our revenge on them, which was all the sweeter for it, I think.
Ali Wren making the last out on third base. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, it was Harry Wren to Ian Smith on second, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was shouting to Harry because there's a run on first and second, so it's a forced play. I said, just touch your bag. Oh, when he done it, I was made up. Waited that long, so many years to win it, and I just thought that's the one thing I wanted, and that was the national then. You know, now it's sort of northern, isn't it? But when you're playing the best in the country, and you come up with the goods, it's great, and especially when you beat the Southerners.
Yeah, I mean, it was still triple A level. So there was still the National Baseball League. But you are right. It is different when you're taking in, you know, when you're beating teams. Usually, if I remember rightly, there's only one Northern team that ever qualified for the national finals because there were more triple A teams down south in those days. Usually only one of us would go, or we'd have to have a playoff down south the week before. It was really special, that.
That's really cool.
I'm glad we got to do it for Norman as well. I want to come on to Norman if I can, Martin. You mentioned Norman before. Aware that some listeners will know very well who Norman Wells is. Others might not. Norman's a fellow Hall of Famer. He was elected in the first class when they founded the British Baseball Hall of Fame. He was one of the first members, along with Sir John Moores, another Merseysider. What can you tell us about Norman? About what he did for you, but perhaps more what he did for baseball in Liverpool and the Trojans. Yeah,
well, if it wasn't for Norman, I probably wouldn't be sat here now. The Hall of Fame, baseball badge around my neck. It was Norman and Stan Williams who introduced me to it, and sort of kept me. Norman and Stan kept me under their wing, really. And sort of, because it was Junior League, I started with them. And then, but they used to argue, Norman would want me to pitch every inning of every game, of every tournament. And Stan Williams would be like, no, we can't. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. I want just put me in there, I'll do it. But and that's when I ended up with 4 cushions in my bed that night, with my mum bringing more in to stop my arm aching, because I had to put my arm right on top of the cushion pillows to stop it aching. But Norman, great man. But lovely fella. I was always talking with him on the sidelines, and I'd always get his advice about what I should and shouldn't be doing. And I mean, I did ask him about batting, and he just used to laugh at me. He said, listen, Goddy, pitchers don't bat, they don't hit. Just get out there and throw the ball. If you get a hit, it's a bonus, he used to say. But he say, oh, he was great, Norman, yeah. He's pointed me in the right direction and kept me under his wing, like. You know, apart from...
I used to really enjoy your conversations after the game. So, because Norman used to score everything on paper. And you'd be straight over there at the end of you'd be straight over there. Certainly in your younger days, you'd be straight over there. You'd be looking in the book, and you'd be going, "That wasn't a hit. No, that was an error." And I used to love those. Always with you'd have a pint of lager. Norman would have a pint of bitter. And I used to just love like just eavesdropping on those conversations. It was a real experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few good ones with Dell as well. I used to always like the conversations in the bar at Bootle Stadium after the game with Dell. You know, I'd be like, because every time he missed a strike, he'd have to buy me a pint before every game. He said, if you miss a strike, you buy me a pint, that's it. And then we'd get in the bar and I was going, hang on, you missed one in that inning, two in that one. So that, and he was just adamant he hadn't. Like I said, come on, you know, we'll split the difference. Just get us a couple of pints there anyway. But yeah, Dell was a good man as well. Like great, you know. But apart from Norman's, just you know, he's sorely missed, didn't he? But he's done a hell of a lot for baseball, though, especially in the Northwest. You know, but yeah, he helped me immensely. As I said, we'll be sat here now. You know, Hall of Famer. If it wasn't for Norman and Stan Williams, Mal Hudson, a lot of other people.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is we've mentioned some of these great names in the Hall of Fame with you already. And I wondered about other people from your baseball generation. Maybe you played so long you spanned a couple of generations that you think, you know, perhaps are missing from the British Baseball Hall of Fame. Are there any names that you know that spring to mind that you think are in with a good shout of getting there one day?
Off the top of my head, I mean, yourself could be in there, Ian, one day.
No. I mean, let's take this seriously. I also definitely wasn't fishing for that either, because I think it's very clear to anybody who knows me and Goddy that I benefited a lot more from him being in the team I was playing in than he did from me. So...
I mean, off the top of the head, it's a bit of a tough one to answer, without really looking at going through stuff from my baseball days, like the likes of Chris G, BJ De Lorenzo, Robbie and Jill Orm, especially Robbie Orm. He's done a hell of a lot for the Trojans. You know, he got all the money together through the lottery funding, and they had to jump through so many hoops to get that money. Him and Jill, it was going off for months, and then they eventually got it, and then they had that much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And then we were just buying it. Robbie Orm and Jill had said, do we need anything for the club? We've got to get rid of this money. So we were buying all kinds. We had all the field done, the backstop done. So people, I mean, he lives in Australia now, Robbie, as you know. But the likes of Robbie Nesbitt, Rob Alger, another one. You know, he got us to 2 finals. You know, 1-2 finals there. There's quite a few people in the mix, isn't there?
What about outside the Trojans? You mentioned Frank Parker earlier. I know Frank's dad, Frank Parker Sr., just got in the same time as you.
Frank was a great player.
Yeah.
I always hated pitching to him. I could never strike him out. No, but he's a great player, Frank. Yeah. But Frank Parker. You know, another great player from Hull. There's a lot of great players from Hull. Ben from Cartmel Valley, Ben's done quite a bit, hasn't he? Up to now, it's, you know, another great player, another great batter. You know,
I always thought Ben was. Yeah, I always thought that you as a pitcher, I always thought struggled with his brother slightly more than him. He used to love to just wait for that slider and just take it to right field every single time.
Yeah.
James Pearson.
He left, didn't he? He went down south in the
give
end.
him a shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time we saw him, he played for Oxford Kings in the semi-final against us. He was catching for them that year.
Where was he? I didn't recognise him there. Didn't know. Yeah, but it's a pity. You know, there's probably in the Burton days. Now they've all gone now. There's Bob Blevins. He done a lot for baseball when I played for Burton Braves for a couple of years because he coached me. I like Gary Roberts, GB manager. Gary Roberts done quite a bit. He was managing the Birmingham Bandits as well when I was there with Mike Harrell. There's quite a few people in the mix. Yeah, should be up for it.
I asked the guys from the club if there's anything they wanted me to get Martin to tell a story about, and one came up from everybody who was there. I actually wasn't there this day, but it was an away game in Scotland where we'd camped out the night before. Or the team had camped out the night before.
I knew this would come up.
And that day, Martin pitched a no-hitter. And I wanted to ask about what his preparation for that day was, and if it was any different to his usual routine.
I ate a bomb that day as well.
Oh, did you? I definitely wasn't there.
It trickled over. It just trickled over. Yeah, I mean, that was crazy when we went to Musselburgh. They were great days then. You know, we used to camp out. We'd get to the campsite. The fella bring one flag over. Can you make a fire on that? Don't go any bigger. So as soon as he left, it started out and all, prim and proper, nice little campfire, all sat round. Next minute, we're dragging trees out of the woods to put on the fire. Then the beer come out. So we're all sat around the fire. So daring each other to do stupid things. So anyway, we're all there having a beer, bored. I think it was Chris Geary. Eat some grass. I was like, we're half bevied by this time. I thought, go on, just daring each other. So only had a bit. And the body can't digest grass at all. So anyway, I go to bed that night in the tent. My stomach was doing somersaults. And I was cursing Chris. I was like, oh, why did I do it? Why did I eat the grass? So the next morning, came out of my tent and Jill Orme was cooking the bacon on the stove. And I just got one smell of it and I just threw up everywhere. But I thought it's not going to, and we still had the game to play, and I just thought it's not going to be a good day, this. So anyway, we get to the ground, and every time I bend down to do the warm-ups, I could feel myself going dizzy. We get up, and everyone's groaning, touch your toes, coming up and get, everyone's like, nearly throwing up. But yeah, it must have done me the world of good, because as I said, I pitched a no-hitter, and it's a dinger as well for the defence, which I couldn't believe. I hadn't hit one of years. So, all the lads we got Goddy, every time we come now, do exactly the same thing. Get round the campfire, get on the ale, get some grass down you, spew up, and then throw no hit and it's a dinger.
Yeah, like Chris Gary's always got something to do with your home runs. Because I remember the last home run you hit before you hung your cleats up, probably 2 or 3 years before you retired. You hit an authentic, like legitimate home run to left field. There was, you can't see anything against it. It came off the barrel of the bat. It flew out. There was no wind carrying it out. It wasn't a particularly shallow fence, and everyone on the bench is in awe. They're just going, "What? Goddy just hit a home run!" Because people who've seen Goddy bat know that he generally hits the ball very high in the air, but he does not clear third base. Right, it's pop-up city, but all of a sudden he times one, he hits one, and we're thinking, wow, we're going to be telling this story for years. And actually, it was largely forgotten about because later in the same game, Chris Gary hit a grand slam, and I think I'm right in saying that's his only home run ever in his entire baseball career, and he's been playing for the Trojans longer than I have. So he kind of stole your thunder there, didn't he?
I'll let him have it. I'll let him. It's his moment of glory. He'll never hit another one. I'll let him have it.
Ian sort of touched on then that was towards the end of your career. If you could sort of relive any period of your career, what years would you pick and why?
Probably, I mean, apart from winning the championship, the Trojans, the GB days, playing in some of the grounds are beautiful grounds played in. Facilities are out of this world. The likes of, Nettuno in Italy, where we went for the Euros. We stayed in the Olympic Village in Rome.
Oh wow!
And the diamond was actually on the Olympic Village. You could see it from your room. But when we played in Nettuno, I remember the likes of Gavin Marshall and Ray Brownlee, a few others. We had a game in it. It's where the Italian national team are based. It's where they train in Nettuno, in Italy. So we got on the minibus and we're all, it's probably about an hour drive. And then we got towards the stadium. It was huge. It looked like Wembley. And we just thought that must be the local football team or something. And the coach driver said, no, that's where you're playing. We were playing Russia that day. I think I pitched the first 2 innings. And what a stadium. We got indoor bullpens. The only thing with indoor bullpens, when you're inside and you're throwing, you feel like your arms are gone. And then you get outside in the fresh air and you think, when we got in there, it was packed, the stadium. And then all the crowds started coming in, and it was just unbelievable stadium. The likes of Haarlem as well in Holland. Another beautiful ball ground is the Braschaat Braves in Belgium, in the middle of a wood. And you can hear the bats going echoing all around the wood as you're walking up towards the ground, and you're getting all the hairs on the back of your neck and standing up. You're getting quicker and quicker to get to the ground. They had a lovely restaurant there where you could sit and watch the ball game. Tell you about, went there a couple of times in France. Beautiful ground, beautiful place. And it was me. We got in trouble on that one. Me and a lad called Matt from down south. We played the first time we beat France. We beat them 2-1 on the Saturday or the Friday it was. So we went out just local. We weren't going mad because we were playing like over 4 days. So we just sat having the goose, we used to call him, Matt from Bournemouth. I can't think of his surname. So we just sat having a beer, and then outside of this bar, 2 girls come off, French girls. Fabienne, can't remember her mate's name. And they just said, do you mind if we sit down? And they were stunning looking. These are from the opposing team, and they want to take us out, like, get us bevied or something. So we said, yeah, have a drink. So they ended up taking us out clubbing all around La Rochelle. We remember sneaking in 3 o'clock in the morning, just as we got to back to the hotel. Mike Allen stood there, turns the torch on. Both of us stood just looking at it. All the others were in bed, and we just thought, he just had us, fair and square. We said, Mike, we just got carried away, and the girls came, funnily enough, the girls came to every game after that, and they sat in the stands, came over. And I don't know in France where they give you 2 kisses. The 4 kisses they give you, I think it means more. So I was going to Matt, how many kisses did you get off? And he went, 2. And I said, well, I got 3, so what does that mean? He said, oh, you're in there. You must be in there. It's just give you 3, you're in there. But I was, we were just having a bit of banter. It was all good, but that was one of the, it was a lovely place to play, that La Rochelle, like, and but Italy and all that. It makes you play better, I think, when you're playing these lovely ball grounds. Concentrate more. You get the crowds coming in, so you've got to be on point. Like you've got to you know, there's all these people watching you, but you're concentrating that much, you don't notice the crowd. All you can hear is like a sort of hum in the background. But yeah, some great times though playing abroad. Great times.
So
When you do know it's a crowd is when you make an error. I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but you had a very, very short one game, in fact, probably 2 innings stint with Preston Jazz.
In the final.
In 2000. I was playing right field, and you were actually on the bench at this point. And it's when the finals were held in Brighton, and they used to spend a ton of money on putting up grandstands and tons of people.
Yeah, see, that was a lovely field, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still going now, the Brighton field. It's not the same as it was, I don't think, but it's still going now, and they're playing on it again. But yeah, so I was playing right field, which I couldn't have been any closer to the grandstand without being, you know, on the other side of the fence, basically. And there's a pop-up hit between second base and right field, and I'm about 18, 19 years old, full of youthful enthusiasm. I haven't played much outfield up until the week before the final. I played infield, you know, I played second base the whole year, and then right towards the end of the year, they brought in some extra players, and they were like, "Oh, I want to keep you back in the lineup, so you're going to play right field." And I was like, "All right," you know, I didn't think it'd be too difficult. And this pop-up comes up, and I scream and I shout, and I'm like, my ball, and I overran it completely, and the ball landed about 10, 15 feet behind me. And I was absolutely mortified, and the whole crowd, you know, it was one of those moments where the whole crowd sort of gasped. And honestly, the gas so loud they nearly knocked me over. It was awful. And then it was actually after that inning when I was due up to bat, and I put my helmet on, put my batting gloves on, and I was told, "You're coming out of the game. You're being replaced." And do you know who replaced me?
Hey.
It was Martin Godsall, who, if I remember rightly, and you might remember better than me, but your second at bat, you got hit by an inside pitch and charged the mound.
I remember it well.
And it was in the days then when Channel 5 used to come and record the highlights.
Yeah.
So we all drove back. We all drove back on the Sunday after, I think we lost on the Saturday. We all drove back on the Sunday, and some of us tuned in to watch the finals, and there was Goddy charging the mound on national TV.
Any publicity is good publicity, you see. It was all a plan.
So what do you remember about your final game and getting prepared for what was your day like? I mean, was it playing on your mind in the morning? How did it affect your preparation? And ultimately, what was going through your mind in those final few innings?
Well, I always prepare for the final, Matt. So it starts the week before. I used to always visualize how I wanted the game to go, really. And if it wasn't going that way, you know, what had happened? But I'd always preparation, eating the right foods. Because on a Sunday, if I'd played on a Sunday, I'd have a rest day. Probably Monday was definitely a rest. Tuesday, things was back into place. My arm, everything had stopped aching. So I do quite a lot of running then. And then that would be my start from the Tuesday up to the game on the Sunday then, or the Saturday or the Sunday. And I'd start preparing every day, eating the right foods, doing the running, going to the gym. But I build myself up to it, because the worst thing I hate is when we got a rain off, because I built myself up that much to the game that I didn't know what to do if the game got called off. So I'd have to go and take a few hacks, like, or, you know, throw into a net, or just get rid of the pent up energy that I built myself up. But most of all, it's focusing. It's getting in the right mindset, because the likes of Ian will tell you, and a few of the lads in the Trojans, whenever we're doing BP before the game on a final day, I'd be very quiet. I'd just be thinking, trying to concentrate and going into myself, and sort of just standing in the outfield, you know, waiting for pop flies, like. But I'd be visualizing the game and the batters and what score I want it to be in certain innings, and things like that. But mainly I'll just be focusing on game day, on the final, and then just concentration, then getting together with my catcher, talking about the batters, what they, as I say, what they'll chase, what pitch they like going for, what pitch they'll lay off on, what can we get away with pitching to them, things like this. You just, in the finals, you've got to do your homework, but you've obviously got to put the training in as well to get to them finals. I mean, because it's a long season. And when you get to that final, it's great when you've done all the hard work all season, getting to that stage, getting to that last game, and you've got to put everything into it. But you've got to have everything right in the right mindset, doing the right training, everything. So, because as I say, one mistake can lose you that game. One error can lose you that game.
Yeah, and with it being the final game that you ever played in, how did your preparation change? Was it knowing that it was your last game as a player? Did that play in your mind, or were you just focused throughout and then worried about it afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, last game, I'd never say never.
Nice.
But I thought last game of the season, thinking, so I can put everything into it. But they got to the 7th inning, and my elbow was sore. I could feel it. Whenever I threw a slide or anything like so fast, it was fine. But any bendy stuff, putting the pressure on the elbow, I could feel it. And I think we went to, I think we asked a couple of the lads, did they want to pitch? And they were like, oh, no, it's the final. So I just went off. I've got the whole season to recover. I can go another two innings, but Dave Chris, he just pushed me so much that game. I was throwing strike after strike, and he was calling it ball. And I was like, he's trying to kill me here. He's just trying to kill me. Well, it was so, they were right down the middle. Even the batters were on the third strike. They started to walk, and it called a ball. And they were just, even the batters cried. And I was just like, oh, that's probably why my elbow went. Yeah, it was a tough game. I threw God knows how many pitches I threw that game. But I think every batter went full count on them. But it felt like it at the end of the game.
It was getting on for 200. I think we did have the count at the time because it was scored on.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think we did actually have some guys, if I remember rightly, because I was the manager of this game, and I've been rightfully criticised for leaving Martin in for so long, because he hadn't decided he was retiring at this point. It came afterwards. But the way I remember it and the way I sleep at night is I went over to him around the 7th inning and said, "How you doing? Are you okay?" And he went, "Yeah," and looked away from me straight away. He didn't want to. So I'm guessing that. Even if his arm was hanging off, he wasn't letting that into his head. That he was just in his zone, and he was like, we're getting through this.
Yeah, he dealt with the pain afterwards.
Yeah, but we always knew we got an early lead in that game. It was a great game against Nottingham Rebels, and they threatened several comebacks. Obviously, we were the home team, so we batted second, and we didn't lose a single inning in that game. Even when I think, they stuck 3 runs on us a couple of times, and we either pulled back to 3 or scored 5, where that happened. And we know that if you give Goddy a lead early on, then we knew we were in with a really, really good chance of getting home.
Yeah, and, that always helped me in my pitching days, having that lead. I always needed something to keep hold of. Because if you go through every inning and it's just 0-0. I mean, it's not too bad if it's, there's no score in the ball game. You still got that to look after. But once you get a lead, it just gave me that little bit more, to look after, to work that little bit harder, like to keep hold of that lead. Because it's always harder for the opposing team to play catch-up baseball. It's great when you're in front. It takes the pressure off the rest of the team and the players.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That brings me to the end of my questions. We've got a couple of listener questions. So the listener questions we've got a few coming from the Buccaneers travel baseball team. And this is a corker. It's not one that I get so I ask often. Ask him, if you could have a ride-on mower for doing the infield at Bootle, What would his first, second, and third choice colours be?
First, second, and third choice colours. First, it's got to be green for the Trojans, hasn't it? Second's probably yellow. A third would be red for the mighty Reds, Liverpool, who got beat last night, which was first time in ages at Anfield. But we won't talk about
No, you're talking to two Bolton fans. We don't feel sorry for you.
that.
Mark Mills at Crazy Lefty 9 has asked, what is his most fondest memory of playing?
Fondest memory of playing is probably, as I've said before, that first final, winning that first final, the British champion, and the party afterwards. We were on the big cigars and everything. No one had a voice the next day. The beer was flowing. We had the hotel to ourselves. It seemed like, anyway. I think the barmaid went to bed and left us there. But great memories then, yeah. The big cigar, yeah. Winning that first British Championship. And the GB days, as I say, playing in the some of the lovely ball grounds you played in and the coaches you met. And, you know, great days. Great. Being very lucky, really.
Yeah. Another one coming from Dennis Grogan. I am D. Grogan. Goddy has pitched against so many batters through the years. Who was his favourite to face and who was the toughest to face?
The hardest, probably Frank Parker. One of the hardest players to strike out. Ray Brownlee's another one. Ben from Cartmel. John Leith, Burton Wood. Unbelievable hard ball hitter. But it's like all the Yanks, you can hit hard balls all day. Throw them something off speed. You don't know what day it is. So, who else? Top batters. Dennis is good in his day.
He's still doing all right these days, Dennis. He's bear in mind where he's come back from. But yeah, I think the reason Dennis has asked you is because from memory. So you were his. Dennis had a horrific injury when he was pitching a few years ago. I can't remember exactly what the broken bones were, but he was pitching off a mound, and he throws righty, Dennis, and he basically broke all of his arm in about 20 different places just from throwing a ball. And he hadn't played for a few months after that, obviously, as you'd expect. Leicester, it was, travelled up to play the Trojans in a friendly, and Dennis hit a home run off you. It was a pre-season game, so I'm sure you worked your competitive mindset. And it was his first home run, and it gave him. He said to me before, it gave him the belief that he can come back, you know, from such an injury. It was a little while longer until he pitched again, but now Dennis is. I think Dennis turns 50 this year, and which is the age you were when you retired. And Dennis is still going strong. So I'm really, you know, I think that mini victory off you, hitting a home run in a friendly, was enough to spur him on to fight on. But yeah, great player, Dennis.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, I remember that I played with Dennis on the GB days. I mean, he was in the GB setup for a while. I remember warming up with him and I was thinking, Christ, he's got a hell of an arm on him. I'm not warming up with him anymore. He throws too hard. But yeah, he was always good. He's a great player, good arm and a good stick. Good all-round lad, like. Loves the game. But I remember when I was at Upper Hayford, and I think we had two coaches over from the States. And this is another story. We were the tour. I was in the outfield. I was dying for the wee, and we were on this. It was an old American air base. There was no one. We were the only ones on there. So I decided to turn around on the outfield fence and have a wee. Because it was a bit. I thought that, and then I turned around, and the coaches from the States had stood there, and all the other lads watching me. And the coaches were like, "Who is that guy?" And I was like, "Come on, lads, get on with it." And the coaches just called me over and went, "Shit, you can't do that, man." He said, "You can't do." I said, "Well, the toilet's about half a mile away." And I said, "It was bursting." I said, "There's no one else here." Well, the two American coaches were just like, I was like, "Welcome to England" type of thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Dennis will tell you about that story.
Ian, you got anything to finish us off with?
It was just you answered the toughest ones to face there, and there was a guy who was around a few years ago that I know you've mentioned to me several times, Martin, who you used to absolutely love facing. He was a superb hitter. I think he was certainly the first person to win the NBL Triple Crown, and he might have been, and it might have been done since, but I don't think it's been done for. And it was Edwin Alcantara, I think his name was.
Yeah.
We referred to him collectively as the Beast on the team because this guy was enormous. I remember
Always had his
he played for
number.
Essex. Always had his number. He couldn't hit you. Every time he played against you, he couldn't hit you.
Well, after every game, he'd come over and he'd be like, one day I'm going to do it. And I was like, no, you got no chance, mate, no chance. Dream on.
There was another question that came in from a listener, Dan Strayer. Dan used to play for Harrogate, and now
Dan's a good lad.
now he plays. Now he umpires mainly, but he has told me recently he's thinking about making a comeback.
He's a great umpire. Great umpire, Dan.
Oh, I agree. He made he really, along with Thomas Haywood and Rob Alger in the finals we hosted at Bootle a couple of years ago, did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
His question was, what's the secret behind the rising fastball?
What's the secret behind the rising fastball?
Yeah, he's convinced that you throw a rising fastball. He's umpired you plenty of times, and he says that the way the ball moves when you throw it, it makes him jump in the box sometimes.
Yeah, it's just, I just grip it and throw it. Sometimes I throw it. Even Paul Mason used to say, "What was that you threw then?" I was just saying, "Well, what I normally throw." He said, "No, that it done something totally different." And I said, "Well, it's got the same grip on it and same mechanics, so it's one of them things,
In shots, have you got any final advice for any young pitchers or one of your pitchers out there to give them, like how to have such a long and illustrious career? What would you say to them?
Yeah, Matt, it's all down to hard work and dedication, really. Making sacrifices. The lads used to be ringing me up, "Come on, we're going out Saturday night," and I'd be like, "I can't. I'm playing ball on Sunday." So you're making all them sacrifices, but it's hard work. It's training. If you want anything, you've got to work for it. If you want to get to the top, you've got to. It's 24/7 when you. I like to play for GB, and when you get to that standard, it's 24/7. You're thinking about it all the time. You're training all the time. The training was the hardest bit for me. Playing seemed to be the easy bit because you put all the hard work in. So I pushed myself really hard in training, and then I get to the ball field, and the day before the game, eating the right foods, getting your rest, turning up at the ball field, all fresh, ready to go. And just looking after yourself and hard work and dedication, and listening to good coaches, believing in yourself as well. There's people said to me, "Oh no, you won't make it in the GB and all." Just believe in yourself. Don't listen to them. You know your own body. You know what you're capable of doing. If you put the hard work in and the dedication, you'll get there. So just carry on doing what you're doing. But as I say, it's tough. It is tough, but the rewards you get at the end, it's all worth it. It's all good, and you'll be made up with yourself as well.
Yeah, it's tradition in the show to leave the last word open to the guests. So, Goddy, you got any shout outs you want to give? Any other bits you want to go over?
Yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to Josh Chetwynd for I think it's starting the ball rolling, and Ian and Dave Byers and all the Trojans, Norman Wells, and everyone involved with putting me forward for the Hall of Fame. I couldn't be more proud, really. Made up again there. But thanks to anyone. I mean, there's probably a lot of other people involved which I've missed out, but if I have, just hats off to them. Thanks very much. Put me through.
Excellent. Hall of Famer Martin Godsall, thank you very much for your time. Blease, thanks for being a co-host. Great questions.
Cheers, Ian.
And we'll catch you all soon.
And off they both trot into the night. Ian and Martin, great to have them both on the show. Legends of the British game there. I really hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Why not let me know what your biggest takeaways were from that? Would it be the pitching side, developing a competitive mindset, or any other bits that are in there that you thought were really good and interesting? Don't forget, if you can leave a review for the show wherever you can, that'd be great. If you want to give us a little rating too, please do so. And get in touch with the show if you've got any feedback. You know that I take it on board and I try to incorporate as much as I can. Also, if you want to try and support the show a bit more, if you find that you've got a few quid left over after you donated to charity, or you're given to a British Baseball Club that may be in need of some support, I've set up an account over at buymeacoffee.com, and if you just look for British Baseball Podcast, for the price of a virtual brew, you can help me to try and fund the show to get better content and to just help me out a bit more generally with the running of the podcast. And that's all for now. Enough grovelling and begging from me. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak to you all soon. Ta-ra.